Good morning. Good morning. What's up, folks? Hope everybody's having a good morning. It is Thursday, November the 21st. JTW here with another Xtrades FOMO live stream coming at you. I hope you all are doing well. We're going to dig into obviously what's going on with the markets in general as we head into the Thanksgiving week next week. We're also going to take a look at our existing trade plans that we've got out there. We've got our member selected tickers. Of course, we're going to take a look at NVIDIA that just had a big earnings report last night, as well as the tickers that we did plans for on Tuesday's live stream. So we'll get through all that. And of course, we will find time to work on some new trade plans and talk about whatever it is you all would like to pick my brain about as we make our way through the next 45 minutes here on the FOMO live stream. So with that, let's dig in. If you guys have any questions, any ticker requests, etc., please feel free to go ahead and start dropping those into the chat. Let me know what you want me to take a look at or what you want me to kind of, I guess, drone on about as I work through some of our trade plans today. All right, so with that, let's take a look at ES. So far seems to be trying to push a little bit higher, seeing some signs. Hey, what's up, Unknown Reviews? Good morning to you. We can take a look at Intuit, of course. Kind of looking a little bit like a megaphone pattern to me so far. So megaphone pattern is going to set up kind of like, probably based off that, right? Starts there. That's pretty close to kind of how I'm seeing this. And then down here, it's a little flatter. We do have that big, this could start actually at a slightly different spot. Might start here, yeah. So, megaphone pattern kind of setting up here where we're kind of spreading out. This is generally kind of a neutral to, I would say, bearish pattern because you can open up room for lower lows and ultimately break support. Obviously, the true is for the call side or breaking through some kind of key resistance as we make more room to the upside in this pattern. But again, kind of seems to be fanning out sort of volatile consolidation that's getting into a bigger and bigger range before we decide to make a move one direction or the other. I will say some of that may have been anticipation of the NVIDIA earnings report that we had last night that was overall pretty positive, I would say. Of course, we saw kind of a typical NVIDIA ER reaction. We'll talk about that in a minute and also kind of how that affects options contracts and why, again, I kind of on a regular basis strongly discourage against anybody trading options for earnings reports unless you're selling them or doing some kind of a credit spread or calendar spread or something like that, something to offset that IV crush that is inevitably going to happen. As long as you have a strategy for that in place, take a shot at it, but still remember that ultimately it's a gamble and you're, keep your positions very small. But from an ES perspective, we're still holding this kind of area of support so far here on the 4 hour, also holding the 200 SMA. We did see this little bit of a liquidity sweep below, which to me that almost signals a move higher. Now that we've kind of swept that liquidity down there, we may try to build a move up and maybe retest this big supply zone up here that's near that current all-time high. Do have some turbulence in the way as we make our way up toward that range though, so keep all that in mind, keep your heads on a swivel. Ultimately, I'm leaning, say I'd be leaning, and this is mostly because of what we're seeing here pre-market on NVIDIA, and we'll talk about that in just a second. I'm kind of leaning a little bit on the bullish side just because I think ultimately this NVIDIA earnings report is going to get bought up. It's just not happening overnight, so that IV crush is still going to take pretty heavy effect on those options contracts. But let's take a look at it on the hourly as well, and then we'll get over to our trade plan recaps. So this is an interesting test and confluence that we're seeing right here this morning here at 59.6725. Got the 200 SMA overhead there, and a kind of a little bit of a conflict, right? 200 is now curling down still. 333 is actually making a move back up. So yeah, this is a little bit of like mixed messaging here at the moment, but I would say if we can get a good break over this 200 SMA and that 59.6725 level, if we get a good hourly close above that, I wouldn't be surprised to see the market try to push higher and start testing some higher resistances. So I would say kind of neutral to leaning slightly bullish as we go into the trading day today. All right, let's get to some of our trade plans. We had NVIDIA from the member selected tickers over the weekend. This was posted in the options watch list Sunday evening. NVIDIA was playing out to the upside for us. So let's go back to Monday. We did start off, sorry, I should go kind of all the way back, started off down here at PT1 for puts. So again, kind of the downside move had already played out before we even had a chance to trade it. That does happen from time to time. Ultimately, NVIDIA built higher lows, though, going up into that earnings report. Got that nice move Tuesday that pushed up and finally gave us the break. We had a confluence there as well, there on the 15-minute, 333 SMA 144.66 key resistance, that call entry level, right? We broke through that, and that got us up toward PT2. That ultimately resulted in a pullback going into the earnings report yesterday. Nice bounce off the 200 SMA back to PT1. Ultimately reported earnings, and I forget what the numbers were exactly, but yeah, I knew they beat top and bottom. I know Jensen was still very bullish on the future of chip demand for AI applications. So, nothing negative from that ER. Of course, NVIDIA did what it does a lot of times, right, and started selling off kind of as soon as the data was released. And of course, consolidated, and now we see here pre-market sort of, I think, what's the real move playing out, which is a push to the upside. However, with all that volatility, I mean, without question, I don't think anybody, would need me to explain that put holders are clearly going to get cooked on this move, but call holders are going to get cooked as well, especially if they have anything short term. I think the implied move on NVIDIA was something like plus or minus 8%. Even with this move pre-market, we're still sitting at about 2% as we're testing PT3 for calls from that plan and struggling to break through that. Currently, that is a key resistance level. That's why we had it as PT3 for calls. But a 2% move on an 8% implied move is going to result in massive IV crush. So unless you had something that was very close to the money and very, very long on the expiration to the bullish side, I would imagine most contract holders are going to see a pretty big hit to their premiums, especially if you've got something expiring anytime in the next 3 to 4 weeks. Personally, again, the approach for me that I would take to a lot of these earnings reports is trying to find a way to collect some premium on this. Me personally, I sold something like $160 calls for a couple weeks out against my share position on NVIDIA. So, even though this move is pushing to the upside, I expect those short call contracts to ultimately be net positive from a premium collection standpoint. So NVIDIA, again, nice earnings report result, decent move up here. Really needs to break through this 149 level to see a push higher and potentially retest or take a shot at that current all-time high there around 150, and then into some new fib extensions over that. So could see a potential new all-time high breakout on NVIDIA today if it can break over that 149.03 key resistance. But we are seeing a pullback here pre-market now that it's tested up around and just above that range. AMD, also member selected tickers. We talked about this one on Tuesday. A little bit of a tough scenario there with that 333 coming down overhead and causing that rejection. It ultimately did break above the 333, but pulled back with the rest of the market yesterday. Some concerns over the war in Ukraine escalating, with Ukraine sending long-range missiles into Russia, and Russia making threats of sending some munitions back across the border toward Kiev, I'm sorry. So, very interesting day yesterday was sort of with that initial pullback, but now we see AMD following NVIDIA to the upside, trying to flip things bullish here from an NTS perspective. I will say this, if we open above 138.51, so open above and we see a back test of 138.51 and you see that back test start to get bought up, I like that as an entry to execute this plan and play for those upside targets at 141.47, so on and so forth. Again, all of this is in the options watch list, spelled out for you in the Xtrades Discord community. Last but not least from our member selected tickers, Meta. This one's been on a slow grind to the upside since we did this plan on Sunday. So, you know, ultimately pushed to the upside there. Sorry, let me get over here a little bit. Gave us a push to the upside there, pulled back just shy. It did catch this one resistance lower than where I had my price target at. So, you know, again, maybe I shot a little bit too high. Ultimately pulled back though, and I haven't personally traded this, so I'm just going to kind of talk through it. So if you're just playing the support and resistance levels, this probably starts to look like time to stop out right there. The one thing I'd say is from a Neptune perspective, this is actually just in time flipping things back to the bullish side. And that ultimately did result in a hold there of 553.10, excuse me. And then from there, it's just been a slow burn to the upside. Did see a dip with the entire markets yesterday, but that dip got bought up very quickly and brought it up to PT2 for calls. We saw it bounce or pull back, bounce off the 200 SMA there inside the NTS flag. And now it's continuing to grind higher, looking for probably PT3 here today. So if you're riding this meta plan to the upside, be ready to finish closing your contracts there at 571.97. Last but not least, we had the Newmont Corporation. This one, gold miner play from, I think this was this Unknown Reviews? Or was this, no, it was Navy Plum, I think, maybe? I forget who requested Newmont. One of y'all did. One of my regulars. But Newmont Corporation's just been sideways. Nothing to see here. Still looking for a break above 43.81 or a break below 41.92. I do like how that 333 is setting up with that confluence there at 41.92. So look for a bounce or a breakdown there at 41.92 on Newmont Corporation. And then last but not least, Tesla. This one's gone surprisingly sideways. Again, nothing to see here from our trade plan. Still waiting for a break over 349.04 to play for the upside, or a break below 324.75 to play for downside. Other things to note since we put this plan in place, we do have the bearish flag on NTS stacking up right there with this 346.10 level. So if we do ultimately get a break of 349.04, this could, I think, make a pretty nice clean move to the upside. So keep your eyes on Tesla for a potential breakout of this consolidation range. Still has a gap to fill to the downside though, so don't forget about that. That gap fills around 320.98. So that is our trade plan reviews and our quick check on the market sentiment. So let's get to these trade plan requests I've got into it so far from Unknown Reviews. If anybody else has any other trade plan requests, please go ahead and start dropping those in the chats. We will have plenty of time to get through at least 2, maybe even 3 new trade plans here this morning. All right, so let's check out into it. Earnings today after hours, so keep that in mind. Looks like it's playing through some old trade plan levels. Filled a gap there. When did I do this trade plan last? So this was a trade plan from back in August. Okay. All right, let me clean up this chart real quick. I don't need that, don't need that. It's fine where it is. All right. And we've clearly filled this gap. This gap, but there is another gap overhead now. It's actually kind of very close to that previous gap level. I mean, just that small adjustment there. So that gap spans to about here. All right. This could potentially also be considered a gap, but that's a little bit. Yeah, this is not a, this is a regular trading hours chart ticker, so this actually needs to be adjusted to here. This to here. This just doesn't make really reliable moves during the extended hour session. So when that happens, I turn the extended hours off. This needs a small adjustment to there. Michael Benitez, I tried messaging you in Discord, first live stream. Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to take a look at MDB. And yeah, sorry, Michael. If you shot me oh, you're messaging me right now. Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. I'm very focused on these live stream channels during this. So I would have gotten back to you after the live stream, but I'm glad you got on here and chimed in just in the nick of time. So yeah, no, we can definitely take a look at that. I do see your DM. I will respond to it for sure. All right, so let's take a look at this. Whoops. Yeah. This is still a gap that needs to be filled, in my opinion. All right. So where does that put us with Intuit again with earnings after hours? Another, man, Intuit's been gapping all over the place. Yeah, thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. I pride myself in my trade planning skills. That's for sure. All right. So I feel like we've already dipped into this gap, though, and didn't continue to drop. I want to take a look at this 638.05 daily level. Wonder if that's what's going to be our trigger for downside. Let me hide that real quick. Probably also would help if I looked at a when in doubt zoom out mode, right? Let's try this again. All right. Yeah. Do like that for a put entry. Like a first target down here at 623.27. So kind of a decent move opportunity to the downside there below 638.05. It's going to be a tight second price target. The only reason why I'm going to put it this close to PT1 is that is a gap fill. Don't ever want to get too greedy holding for more downside when a downside gap fills. That could certainly lead to a change in the direction of the price action. So smart PT2 there, in my opinion. PT3, debating, but I think it is. I think it does sit right about here at 612.51. So kind of tight price targets after hitting PT1, but definitely a decent downside move if we do break below that put entry level. Or at least I shouldn't say definitely, but certainly looks like there is a good opportunity there. Stop loss average down, I'd set it right here. The 644.91 is a really good risk reward on this one as well, on that setup. Mike. What's up, Chris? Good morning to you. All right. Upside. Kind of out in space. We are clearly in this massive gap down going into the week here. This is a little bit of a tricky one as far as where do we really open things up for upside. So take a look at this. Small little gap to fill there. It's actually a pretty good support and resistance level too. I wonder if I have this 652.11 just a little low. Sits more like right there. Maybe just a hair down. Actually, sorry, I know I'm over here kind of splitting hairs, but I want to make sure we're being a little bit conscientious about this call entry level. I think it does sit right here around 653.08. How greedy do we get over 653.08? The answer should be not greedy at all, but we know that's not true. We're going to shoot for a pretty decent move on this first price target. I think this sits more like right here. It's been a while since I've looked into it, so I am adjusting some of these levels on the fly. Second target, that daily level there at 673.99. Third target, let's check this hourly chart. Or do we just go for, no, it's still a little bit more meat on that bone. Okay. Since we're going for a PT3 here, I'm going to make a small adjustment to this. Or make a small exception to my rule. PT3 really could be 677.47, but at this point, you'll be well in profit. Stop should be in profit. So going for a little bit more, and maybe we get to where we saw this flip of support to resistance above this gap fill. So anyway, 677.47 or 679.73, either of those acceptable PT3s in my opinion. So this is a little bit of a interesting setup on this chart, but I think it makes sense given the risk zone because we're a little bit more spread out to the upside. I think overall bigger move to the upside, but giving ourselves a little bit more risk to take there as well. Downside, tighter risk zone, but really good first price target, tight price targets after that though. So these are our Intuit trade plans, upside or downside. Get that posted here and here. Man, beyond. What's up, HBot? Good to see you, brother. How are you? What's up, IT Twit? We just talked about NVIDIA a moment ago, but we can circle back to that real quickly. Beyond's a name I haven't heard in forever, new trader. I'll take a look at that. And then PDD, Pinduoduo, although didn't they? I keep saying that. I think they changed their name, didn't they? All right, so into it, and then let me put this in the watch lists as well. All right, so what are we looking for here on Intuit? We're looking for a break above 653.08. That should give us targets at 664.12, 673.99, and 679.73 with a stop loss average down at 644.91. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 638.05. That should give us targets at 623.27, 618.95, and 612.51 with a stop loss average down. Share with the upside trade plan at 644.91. Those are your Intuit upside and downside trade plans. Also a reminder, earnings after hours. So if you're going to swing contracts, make sure that you give yourself lots and lots and lots and lots of time. All right, so let's take a look at, we had MDB Michael jumped in with MDB in the YouTube stream, and then we'll get over to the questions in the Discord chat. Haven't forgotten about y'all, but Michael got his request in first. Haven't taken a look at MDB in a while, although interestingly enough, it is right in an existing or an old trade plan range. Let's see, looks like it was about September last I looked at MDB, so I probably need a little bit of a refresher on this one. Let's see what's happened since the last time I took a look at MDB, and when in doubt, let's zoom out. Start on the weekly level with this one, or weekly time frame, not weekly level. All right, so this rejection came just a little bit lower. There is a little bit of a touch there. I'm just debating whether or not to make a slight adjustment to this weekly level. It looks really good where it's at, but I could make a case for 322.51 versus 320.94. You know what? That's the more recent testing. How low is that? 321.77. Still a little bit far removed from that. Take a look at this on one more time frame. Sorry, I just want to make sure I got this level dialed in here, because it's probably going to be an important one for our planning purposes. Yeah, that's pretty clean there. I'm going to stick with that slight adjustment just because we had that rejection there recently, but it's very close to an existing level that's just a little bit higher. But what I'm looking at, what I'm liking, we make that adjustment. So if we get a break over this 298.24, that could be a pretty big move up to that next weekly level. I could certainly see that playing out like that too. So the question becomes, over that, where do we need to start looking to scale out? There's a little bit of a gap to fill to this level right here. Also like that as a price target anyway. Third target for the upside. Could be 342.13, could also be 348. What is that? 347.83. Let's go for it. I think that that's a good third price target. So then the next question is stop loss average down. Yeah, sure. Happy to take a look at this for you, Mike. I'm sorry that you haven't gotten responses. If you ever struggle getting somebody to answer in the chats, the best way to get my attention, because I do there's so many notifications that pop off in our Discord, unless I get tagged specifically, so like at everyone, at analyst, at whatever, any of those kind of broader category things don't actually notify me as directly as if you tag me specifically if you're going to ask a question in one of the channels, or shoot me a DM. I try to be as responsive to those as I can be, and things certainly do fall through the cracks there from time to time. So if you ever send me a DM and are struggling to get a response from me, don't hesitate to follow up. Just don't follow up like every 15 minutes. Give me a few hours to respond, especially if it's a follow-up message. I do my best to get to everybody as quickly as I can. Yeah, update requests. Yeah, just make sure you tag me, just, you know, at JTW specifically, if you're looking for me to weigh in on something. I mean, I still try to respond to the stuff that gets tagged to all the analysts, or, you know, those other kind of more role-based tags that we have in the Discord. But I do have a lot of those notifications turned off, or, you know, so they're minimal, because otherwise it gets to be a lot with all the different, with all the different things that I get categorized as far as what I can be tagged under in the Discord. And then I, you know, wind up with like 100 notifications, and like 75 of them have already been addressed by somebody else. All right. Yeah, that looks good there. All right, so this is what our, whoops, didn't need to hit that, MDB trade plans look like. We are going to share a stop loss average down with that upside trade plan. All right, let's go. Michael finally got an answer on what to do with MDB. Whoops. Let's get this kind of zoomed in. That looks pretty good. You guys should be able to see that. Yeah, for sanity purposes, absolutely. All right, so here are the MDB live stream plans. Let's get to the watch list as well. So what are we looking for here on MDB? We're looking for a break below 273.53 to play for downside. That should give us targets at 258.22, 250.99, and 242.53. Decent risk zone here on this one. 286.30 is our stop loss average down. To the downside, we're looking for, or sorry, to the upside, we're looking for a break above 298.24. That should give us a first target right around 320.94. Second target 333.03. Last target 347.83. Shared stop loss average down there at 286.30 with the downside trade plan. Those are your MDB trade plans. I hope that helps, Michael. We'll keep an eye on this one, and I will do my best to alert if I wind up jumping into this one myself personally. All right, so let's see. Got that. Got some requests for PDD. So IT Twit asked about NVIDIA. NVIDIA, again, this plan is kind of playing out. Hit third price target, now seems to be consolidating between PTs 2 and 3 after playing out for some downside targets to start the week out. Although again, downside targets were hit before we were even able to do anything about it. Both pre-market Monday and pre-market Tuesday hitting PT 1 for puts there. So, you know, if we're hitting those PTs and bouncing going into the day, just be very careful about trying to play, because the downside moves could have already played out. That ultimately pushed up to PT2 for calls before pulling back going into the day yesterday with some of that war FUD that was happening. And then earnings report dipped down near PT2 for puts, but ultimately was a positive earnings report. Going to burn both sides here with an 8% implied move going either direction. Only 1 3/4, we'll call it, to the upside. So far from eclipsing that potential 8% move. So, you know, for me, it needs to break 149.03 to continue higher. Above that, I think we get a test of new all-time highs, or I'm sorry, the current all-time highs there, just overhead at 149.98. And then over that, I think we're looking at 152.65, I believe, was the fib set that I like the best out of the ones that I had. So, you know, essentially, you know, looking at projecting resistances that have never been tested before. The other thing to kind of be mindful about here with did I do MDB on, oh shoot, I'm sorry. Wow, I did that whole trade plan on regular trading hours. Hang on, let me adjust this MDB plan. I'm sorry, I totally forgot that I switched that to regular trading hours for that Intuit plan. So let me see if we need to adjust this call side. Thank you, Navy Plum. I'm glad you said something. The next call entry, so we could switch this up here. Yeah, I'm very glad you said something. Normally, I'm always on extended trading hours. I totally was flying through these plans and forgot to switch back after doing the Intuit plan, because Intuit is just so far off. on that extended trading hour. So if you're seeing prints above on Intuit pre-market, I would take that with a grain of salt. We've got, check this real quick. Sorry, I know I'm bouncing back and forth, but I'm glad Navy Plum said something, because I would definitely want to make adjustments to this plan if we're already above pre-market. Just want to get a look at this 306.38. I think it's a good level, but man, MTB just does not spend a lot of time in this range. Let's see what we get here. Damn. I mean, it just flies through these levels in this range. It's a little bit higher, I think, actually. I think I did have slightly higher rejection point that I was looking at. So we're going to make an adjustment to this. Yep, that's exactly where it was. Okay, we're going to make an adjustment to this. Thank you for saying something, Navy Plum. I appreciate it. And here's how we're going to adjust this. So I'm going to repost this. So giving this one definitely plenty of room before we tempt fate to the downside. Man, this makes me want to change both plans, actually. Because now that I'm looking at it here, yeah, sorry, we're going to adjust both these. My bad. I will take full responsibility for that oversight. Glad you said something, though. Because these will probably play out sooner and better now that I'm looking at all the data. That's always helpful. It's a little bit higher, isn't it? Yeah, it's right there. All right. Sorry, everybody, for the back and forth, any confusion I've caused on this. I will repost. I'm going to delete the existing trade plan messages in Discord. I think there is actually a way for me to delete it in YouTube as well, so I'll do that also. Yeah, other than that, everything else I think stays the same. Lots of changes to the downside, some slight adjustments to the upside. All right. Let's go with corrected MDB live stream plans. Thank you, Navy Plum. All right, I'm going to delete this just so it doesn't cause any confusion. I'm going to delete this one as well. Yeah, the N2 one I stand by with knowing how it trades during extended hours. All right, so let's go over MTB one more time. Sorry about that, folks. Looking for a break over 307.71 now. That should give us targets at 320.94, 333.03, and 347.83. So, you know, some of those are the same from the existing trade plan. Stop loss average down, adjusted to 298.24. Downside entry adjusted to 289.86. That should give us adjusted price targets at 279.15, 273.53, and 265.88, with a shared stop loss average down there at 298.24. Thank you again, Navy Plum, for catching that. I do appreciate you. All right, so we are talking about NVIDIA, and again, NVIDIA needs to really break over that current all-time high to take a test at 152.63. Again, I'd give this one a few days to kind of figure itself out before you go chasing anything. let's see what happens, is my kind of take on NVIDIA. Beyond for shares for new trader. Beyond is one that I haven't looked at in forever. 518. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. I remember Beyond being like in like the 200s at one point. It's like all-time lows for Beyond. Yeah, I've got like some old downside fib extensions that, man, Beyond is beyond wrecked. Oh my. Yeah, sorry. Just reliving the heydays of Beyond when it used to be like the thing that just ran like it was the like Tesla before Tesla maybe, or it was right around the same time that Tesla got real hot. But yeah, Beyond craziness. So it is very close to the last fib extension I have from the last set of fib extensions I did, although they all, that looks pretty decent right there. It could be a little bit lower, I think. That does look like a little bit of a cleaner level there at 1021. So Beyond for shares, I mean, I'd say it's probably at a decent value now. I don't know what, I'm sure the IV on it's probably still super crazy. It definitely looks like it could squeeze out of this little descending triangle pattern here. I mean, at 515 a share, put it in the F it, take a shot, buy a few hundred shares, or sell some $5 cash secured puts. I would imagine the IV is still pretty elevated. Let's see what's the recent news. Latest product Beyond Sun Sausage. What the hell is Sun Sausage? Oh boy. Well, you know what? Yeah, it's not. Again, it's in the realm of like, screw it. I would buy some shares just to see if it ever does recover, but it's not one that I would be aggressively investing in. It's I don't see much bullishness on the chart at all. It's got a lot of issues. But again, if the IV is high enough, I don't hate the idea of selling some $5 cash secured puts and starting a wheel on it. So those are just my thoughts on Beyond for you, new trader. I hope that helps. I kind of prefer the $5 put approach. Just me. Oh, PDD did get cooked. Not too bad, but it is falling right within an old trade plan range. Let's see. Yeah, so this is another, like, you know, probably the best advice I can give is exercise 3-day rule. I don't see a whole lot though that changes my mind about this existing trade play we've got on it. So if you want to take a stab at something, again, make sure you're waiting for confirmed breaks, and even better, confirmed breaks and back tests. I say you take a shot at running this trade plan back, maybe with one slight adjustment. Actually, I would change this to PT1. This to PT2. Sorry, I'm just seeing if there's an actual level here, or I do think it is a little bit higher. If there is one, probably near where that gap is. We just keep getting just shy of it. High of that was 118.86. I I mean, we're probably splitting hairs there a little bit, so let's just call it 118.94. So I would make that adjustment actually, and then outside of that, it was kind of there waiting for us, right? A couple of small tweaks there, but ready to go. And that's another, kind of quick piece of advice why I always leave my support and resistance levels on my chart. Like somebody asked me at one point, like, do you delete the levels after you're done? Absolutely not. They are, especially if they're really well vetted support and resistance levels. What am I doing? They tend to be pretty persistent. They don't just kind of disappear over time. They might shift a little bit one way or the other, or some things can happen. New support resistance levels will get established over time, but if you've got really good solid levels, generally speaking, they might need some slight adjusting every once in a while, but other than that, they should be good to go. All right, so here is your PDD live stream plans to close out our week of live streams. Whoops, should I not copy this? All right. And last but not least, in the options watch list. So what are we looking for here on PDD? We are looking for a break above 108.92. That should give us targets at 113.78, 116.04, and 118.94 with a stop loss average down at, 104.93. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 101.91. That should give us targets at 98.38, 94.80, and 90.33 with a shared stop loss average down with the upside trade plan at 104.93. Those are your pin duo trade plans. This is your Xtrades FOMO live stream for Thursday, November 21st. I want to thank you all so much for joining me and taking the time to be here this morning. I really do appreciate it. We will be back next Tuesday. Tentatively, we might be going out of town for Thanksgiving last minute. If that winds up happening, I don't think I'll be able to do the Tuesday live stream. So I'll keep you all posted on that, or at the very least, I'll try to put something up. What I will say is come join, expect it to happen. If for some reason you don't see things kick off by 8:35, then I had to go out of town. And again, I'll try to get something posted somehow, some way that kind of informs folks that if I do have to cancel that last minute. So anyway, I am expecting to do one next Tuesday, and then of course we'll be off for Thanksgiving next Thursday. So if for some reason we don't have a live stream next Tuesday, I do want to wish everybody a safe and happy Thanksgiving. Spend some time with your family, enjoy a break from the markets, recharge your batteries, having some balance in your life, not spending all the time. And when you're at Thanksgiving, try not to talk about the markets constantly. Take a break from all this stuff every once in a while. Totally refresh, reset yourselves. You will be surprised at what kind of clarity you come back with when you do that every once in a while. So with that being said, again, I want to thank you all so much for being here. As we always say here on the FOMO live streams, plan your trades, trade your plans. A trade plan a day keeps the blown account away. Right, Chris? And of course, keep your wins big, keep your losses small. Go out there and get some green. I will see you guys in the chats. Take care. Have a fantastic day. Talk to you soon.